Welcome to Cocktails with the Crew, a podcast about wedding planning.
Episode 6.
Hi, welcome to Cocktails with the Crew. My name is Jessica Talazac. I'm with Republic Nola.
And I'm Jessica Burke. I am with New Orleans Weddings Magazine.
And this is episode 6. Yeah, already. So the past episode and the next couple that we're focusing on are talking about traditions. And this one in particular, we're going to be talking about New Orleans traditions.
Because of course.
Yeah. But first, let's talk about our cocktail.
Yes, this looks delicious. What did you make for us today, Jessica?
So this is a strawberry mint sipper. So this is a good one for spring. Basically, it is Louisiana strawberries and mint, muddled with some mint syrup that's also produced locally from Oak Alley Plantation. And then we've got Absolute Lime is the vodka in there, and topped with a little bit of soda. So it's nice and refreshing. Definitely a delicious one for springtime.
Looking forward to getting that recipe so we can make this one again.
Yeah.
But without further ado, we have a guest to invite who knows all about New Orleans traditions because she's right in the middle of the French Quarter constantly.
Right.
We would love to welcome Miss Sherry Constance from the Port of Two Sisters. Come on over. Welcome to the party. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I
can't wait to get sipping.
Yes. Here's one for you. Thank you. And then, of course, we have to toast. Cheers. All right.
Yeah.
Let me find my chair over here.
Yum, yum.
Sinking down. All right. We have a sinky sip.
Delicious. Great. So like I said, we're talking about New Orleans traditions today. And you obviously work for one of the most famous, restaurants, event venues in the French Quarter and in the city in general. How long has Court of Two Sisters been around?
So we're in our third generation of owners now, so about 56 years with our current ownership.
Wow.
And had one previous owner for a few years, but yeah.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about, what you do there, what, excites you on a daily basis, and why do you love to work there?
Yeah. So the space itself is gorgeous, obviously. So we have the French Quarter's largest open-air dining courtyard, so it accommodates about 300 people for a reception. When you're talking about New Orleans weddings, you're usually talking about big receptions. Yes. Especially in the French Quarter, a lot of space is limited, smaller spaces, things like that, so it allows us to do some really great things. Our courtyard's also connected to an indoor area, so we can do indoor-outdoor things. Lots of fun stuff. So, yeah, great space.
Great.
I know y'all importantly do brunch fairly regularly.
Brunch every day.
Yeah.
Every day. So,
every day.
Yeah.
Awesome. So y'all need to check that out. Just hint, wink, wink.
Yeah. Just it's a great place. And it's also nice that it's family. It's a family. It's family.
Right.
I love that. So,
that's so important when it comes to New Orleans in particular. We talk about hospitality. It's definitely something that sets us apart as a city. Compared to a lot of other places.
Exactly.
And in talking about New Orleans traditions, over the top food and beverage, that's definitely something that we see a big theme of, especially compared to other places. So how do you feel that New Orleans differs from other cities when it comes to how we approach food and beverage for a wedding in particular?
Yeah. I think the biggest thing that's different, especially with northern weddings, is that we have cocktail receptions for weddings. So a lot of times we do a ton of northern brides, particularly New York. They're used to a seated, plated meal, place cards, table assignments,
seating,
the whole thing.
That's not long at home. We don't do that.
We don't do that here.
Right.
Yeah. So, we do the big continuous party, lots of past appetizers, lots of food stations, lots of drinks, and more drinks before the ceremony, drinks before the second line. If you're talking about New Orleans traditions, you obviously have to talk about the second line. Right. Drinks for the second line, drinks when you get back to the second line, open bar,
right. Yes.
His and hers cocktails. Yes. So, I think that that's really, it's all about the party first. And so I think wedding planning in New Orleans in particular, it's how can I throw the best party? How can people have the best time? Versus more of a formal, elegant type.
And the quality of food and drink is always important, obviously, but I think, like you said, it's more about the experience and the ambiance and the just overall flow of things. You know, that really makes us different than the way other cities do it.
Flow is a great example because in New Orleans, it's that laissez-faire attitude, and that's how wedding receptions are for us. It's less structured and formal and more party atmosphere.
Right.
So
and it gives your guests
is.
the option of, like, kind of doing whatever they want.
Totally.
You know, like if you want to go hit the bar, you want to go hit the food, you want to just dance. Like, you can do whatever you want. You don't have to be confined to
2 hours here, 1 hour there.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
There's no prescribed menu for how things need to happen.
The other great thing, specifically about the French Quarter, when you talk about flow, is everything is so close together that you ideally could have your ceremony in one location, your reception in another, an after party in another, and just kind of move the whole thing from one place to the other,
right.
which is totally unique for New Orleans.
Yes, definitely.
So I want to go back to the food because I feel like that's what everybody, that's not the only thing people come to New Orleans for, but it's a big reason because we have such fantastic food. What do you do at Court of Two Sisters? What is your signature just over the top dish? Like, what is it that you have
what's
to have?
the wow moment?
Yes. Yeah. So, we had one couple, which I absolutely love this story. They actually did go for a plated meal, but their dessert was bananas Foster. And so they opted for bananas Foster instead of a wedding cake. And so instead of wedding cake photos, like cutting the cake, they have photos of them flambeing bananas Foster for their guests. So it's like a flambe with a kiss, you know? So cute. So, that's always a wow and such a local thing.
Yes.
And they weren't from here, but they absolutely wanted to have that experience for like their guests and their family. So
fire in the wedding, why not?
Yeah.
Got to.
We're pretty traditional, classic Creole French, but kind of the saying around the restaurant is we'll do anything except sushi, but we probably know a guy, It's like that kind of a thing.
Right.
So.
You can always like bring in a station if you need it.
You
but
have to have a sushi bar.
Right.
You can make it happen.
Right.
Yeah.
That's great. So have you had any like over the top requests like that? Like bring in a sushi bar, like anything like that you guys have done and accommodated?
Yeah, so one thing that stands out to me is we see a lot of weddings that want to mesh sort of history and heritage and sort of background of the bride and the groom together. Mm-hmm. And so we had one wedding where the bride was from New Orleans and the groom was from New York. So they wanted a like Big Apple meets Big Easy sort of theme.
Yeah, I love that.
So they put us in touch with their favorite pizzeria in New York to have them make the dough and put together all the toppings and kind of get it all together and ship it to us with instructions on exactly how to prepare it and how to cook it and how to serve it.
Recipe. All right.
So, and so they, of course, wanted to couple that with then, like, a New Orleans buffet. Yeah. So you have your, gumbo, your jambalaya, your red beans and rice, and your, New York-style pizza. So, yeah. But it couldn't just be any New York-style pizza. It had to be from their, favorite pizzeria.
I love that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we did one here where the bride was from here, from like Lafayette, so, more Cajun, Louisiana, and then the groom was from Germany. So their hashtag and like theme for the wedding was boudin and bratwurst, which I thought was like the cutest thing ever.
That's great.
Yeah, but it's so great to be able to like bring in people's cultural backgrounds like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We're a cultural melting pot here. I think that's one of the best things about New Orleans. You can meet so many interesting people.
Yeah.
And just embrace those cultures.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I love it.
Yeah.
Hey y'all, we'll be right back. Don't run off. Grab a copy of the latest edition of New Orleans Weddings magazine at a store near you, or have a copy mailed to you. Visit thenowbride.com and click on Get a Copy. That's thenowbride.com. Happy planning from the New Orleans Weddings team.
All right, we're back, and we are excited to welcome, for the second time on Cocktails with the Crew, our cameraman and photographer extraordinaire, Brian Jarreau of Brian Jarreau Photography. So come on over, Brian. And I know you're selfieing right now. Yes. You can't help it.
Like
half theater major, yes.
Hi everybody, how's it going?
Hey. All right, you need to get you a drink, sir.
Yeah, maybe I need a drink.
Sorry, I'm
all right, we must toast here. So everyone, cheers. Cheers.
Welcome
and happy cocktail.
Thank you. So what are we having?
So this is the strawberry mint sipper. So it's basically
a little bit
absolute
more
lime with some strawberry mint and soda. So
nice.
It's simple, but
I want to more than sip this. I
refreshing.
kind of want to drink.
Yeah. You
could get back.
Delicious.
So this episode in particular is focused on New Orleans traditions.
Oh, yeah.
So we've been talking with Sherry, with Quarter Two Sisters, about some of the things they do over there. Wanted to get your input on some of the traditions that, people like to incorporate that, even if they're not local. Like, what do you think that people should bring into their weddings?
Sure. So I think one of the most important things that, particularly if you're not local and you have a lot of people who are coming to visit from out of town, is never skip over having a second line. Yeah. It is one of the most fantastic traditions that New Orleans has that I've never seen anywhere else, and I've photographed all over the country. I started photographing in Chicago, and there's certain things that the Midwest does that we don't do here. I think we absolutely do it better in New Orleans. I'm just saying, I'm a little partial. But the second line tradition is amazing because after your ceremony, you take your entire wedding party and you parade through the street in front of everyone. You've got a band playing for you. Everyone's got their handkerchiefs. And another awesome tradition is that most people will get a custom handkerchief printed, and there's a lot of places in New Orleans that'll screen print them for you. And you can get your wedding date or your vows or whatever you want screen printed on the handkerchief, and so everyone's got something for the parade.
It's a little something to take home with them.
Right.
Absolutely. And then also, if you go and you check the hashtags on Instagram after your wedding for like live second line, you'll find you and your wedding party from someone else's perspective on the street photographing your wedding, which is super fun.
We saw a wedding once. They were second lining and Anna Kendrick. Instagram, like 2 million likes, like that. It was insane.
It's so awesome.
Crazy.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
so I've been thinking about getting like a custom vest that I can wear for second lines.
Oh,
It's
nice.
got like my hashtag or something on the back, so it'll just show up in everyone's videos.
That's
Maybe even
awesome.
like a barcode, so it'll just like
Hey,
automatically
there you go. Like
Market
automatically
yourself, you know?
hashtag this.
some other really great traditions, obviously, incorporated with the second line is having parasols. There's a lot of different companies that do custom parasols. They'll put your name, your wedding date. If there's like a theme to your wedding or something special you have going on with your wedding, you can get that on the parasol. I've seen people's engagement photos printed on their parasols.
No way.
I had a groom
Yeah.
recently who had his engagement photo printed on the inside of his jacket.
Are you
What?
serious?
It was super awesome.
We need a copy of that photo.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's also a rep for Whistle Pig Whiskey, so there was so much whiskey at this wedding. By the end of the night, there was like a whole empty case or like full case, and everyone's wasted. I was like, so
You also can't forget you have a go cup in your other hand.
yeah,
Hanky in one hand, go cup in the other.
Yeah, so really just no
so
experience like
important.
Yeah, and with the parasols too, like I know that weddings that I've been in, like all the bridesmaids have come together to help make the parasol for the bride and groom to use and stuff like that. So it's just a great way to like get that special touch in. You don't necessarily have to pay someone else to make it.
Right.
Like you can, get your friends and family to put it together for you. Like
If you're in that DIY kind of mood.
Right. Yeah.
And also, the second line is a great alternative to sparklers. I know a lot of venues in the French Quarter will not allow sparklers because they set it on fire one time, so they're not with sparklers. But it's burnt down one time, so we're trying not to burn it down again.
We did drop the fire escape once with sparklers.
That was fun.
We only allow them outside.
Yeah, that's not to say that I haven't done it because people will just break the rules because also that's New Orleans. But, anyway, another tradition that we haven't done a lot, but if you have a bride and groom who are more from Cajun country, is the mop dance or the broom dance. And this is traditional if one of the younger siblings gets married before an older sibling. Correct, yeah. So then the older sibling will be forced to dance with a mop or a broom, sort of as a kind of like a little kind of like cheer because your younger sibling has gotten married before you.
I've never seen that one.
It's fun, and a lot of times there'll be an accordion involved, and there's a lot of Cajun guys who are getting down and clapping. But I think a really great aspect of New Orleans is that because it's such a destination wedding city and so many people come from all over, whether they came here whether they have their wedding here because they went to school here or they traveled here and maybe they fell in love here or they just love New Orleans so they decide to have their wedding here, is that people bring all of their traditions to New Orleans. So for a lot of our weddings, we've done really cool traditional Jewish things. I've had Middle Eastern weddings where we've done some really cool Middle Eastern type things. also people just from different parts of the country will bring their kind of little different colloquial things. So there's always something different. I've had brides and grooms who did they had an obstacle course planned for them when they came out for their first dance, and so the whole family forced them to go through an obstacle course and then take shots at the end, which was kind of weird. But those Midwesterners.
Was there hay and cornfields involved?
Well, there was they had to spin around with on a bat and swing at things and bust a pinata.
They just wanted to torture.
This was before the drinks, though, right?
Yes and no. So a lot of weddings, there's a bar during the ceremony, so there's drinks being served during the ceremony. You can drink while the ceremony is going down, which is always a good time.
Oh, that's always fun. That does sound very New Orleans.
A lot of, particularly venues that have outdoor. If you're having an outdoor wedding, there's always a bar. So.
Yeah, that's not the church wedding. Well,
right.
Depends on whether you bring your own ice chest.
Yeah. But when we talk about New Orleans, obviously, we can't not talk about Mardi Gras.
Oh.
So, no matter the time of year, people think it's Mardi Gras here. That's at least what I find with our weddings and events and stuff, is that everybody loves to incorporate Mardi Gras in, no matter if it's a November wedding or a February wedding. Yeah. So, what are some things that you guys have seen that people have done to incorporate Mardi Gras in that, anybody can do any time of year?
Sure. Always a king cake. You can always you can have your traditional bride and groom, your traditional bridal cake, but then the groom's cake can be a king cake. I've seen people who had little mini to-go king cakes in little boxes as their to-go item for their bride.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
For their party as they're exiting.
Because you're going to get hungry after you.
Yeah,
I love an edible favor, personally.
Absolutely. Yeah. Particularly if you put on top of that liquor once you've been drinking.
Right?
Yeah, you need something,
Yeah.
Also, masks. Bride and groom, they'll come out with a mask, a Mardi Gras mask. There's some really great mask makers in New Orleans. There's a couple of mask makers that make leather masks. So we've seen the bride and groom do some custom leather masks, as well as Mardi Gras themed cake toppers, lighting, as well as during your second line or your pre-second line using Mardi Gras music.
And you could pull in some customized beads to throw.
Absolutely.
Well, right, and that also ties in, you were talking about people post on Instagram and things like that. We had a couple that had their own custom beads that said "Thanks for sharing our day" and their hashtag on it, and they actually threw them out during their second line. So random people got them. That was so fun.
A bride and groom's caricature, a bride and groom with their caricature faces on a Mardi Gras throw.
Love it.
That was super cool.
That's great.
I actually had caricature artists at my wedding reception. That was our favors for our guests. They did caricatures for all of the guests.
Oh, another big tradition is having a live artist for your wedding who's painting during the wedding. They'll do a live portrait a lot of times at the first dance, at the cake cutting, or of the ceremony, and you'll see all of your guests in the background.
What they're wearing.
Yeah.
That's me.
If there's a little kid who's a super fun kid, you'll see that little kid
in there.
Yeah,
I love all the art, aspect of it for sure.
So have y'all seen, and we have a lot of, aside from the artists in Jackson's Grove, we have tarot readers and, the psychics. Do y'all ever have the fortune tellers? Have either of you seen that at weddings?
We haven't had one at any of our weddings, but that would be a great idea.
I had one wedding at the Pharmacy Museum. They had the fortune teller. They had a cheesecake from St. James Cheese Company. Instead of having a traditional cake, they did cheese wheels
actual
instead.
Cheese, not cheesecake.
So so a bunch of cheese wheels stacked, and then there's someone who's there is cutting cheese, and they have a bunch of artisan breads. Look, I'm serious. I highly recommend doing cheese because I also have a relationship with them. So at the end, I always get a little box of cheese for myself. So I'm just
saying, encouraging that cheese.
I love plug in for them. But another thing that I wanted to also mention was, I just forgot. I got off track with the cheese.
No, you got excited about the cheese, right?
Wait, what was the question again?
We're talking about tarot.
Oh, right. Yeah. So they had tarot. Also she was doing was it an oil or something that they put on a dish and then they read the oil, something like that. I forget. But another thing that they have is 2 girls, 1 shuck. which is two girls,
Yes.
and they come and they shuck oysters for your reception at some point.
Raw
Which
oysters.
is
cool.
super awesome.
Yeah.
And
Yes,
I've never seen that
Becky is
anywhere.
awesome.
Obviously, it's in
Yes.
New Orleans, but I
They
love
Also
this.
with snowballs.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, we've done boozy snowballs
Yeah.
quite a
You
few times
can
for
have them
events.
unleaded, or you can have
Yes.
mine.
Yes.
You know, it's like, why bother? But,
Excellent.
you know.
Yes, I love that.
Late night
association.
beignet bites, like so many fun
yes.
New Orleansy things.
Oh,
Right.
yes. Yes.
Yeah,
We
we've
really
definitely, as a venue that's a little bit more non-traditional, we've done a lot of the tarot mystic type weddings and stuff. A lot
Did
of
you have a wedding recently?
yeah, actually, it was a few years ago,
Okay.
but we've done several since then that have that more voodoo theme with lots of skulls and kind of bringing in a different aspect of New Orleans because, like I said, people think about New Orleans and Mardi Gras right immediately, but they don't really think about the, voodoo, tarot, all of that aspect of it as much. So it's kind of a different way to incorporate those New Orleans
And costume
traditions
themed weddings as well. We've had several
Love
weddings
the
where the guests,
masquerade.
Yes.
in costume theme, typically around Halloween, but
Yeah.
still,
I mean, you could do it any time of year here.
Sure.
You really
Totally.
can. Yeah,
and carnival season as well, but
Uh-huh.
totally any time of year.
Yeah.
definitely.
Well, I'm very excited about all this, and I know we did feature a wedding here that had a tarot theme. It was a few years ago, but it was awesome. They had the tarot cards all around the
Yes.
cake table and in part of the
Yeah, we
arrangements
incorporated them
on
into the
table.
arrangements. I actually still have some of them because they were such beautiful tarot cards too.
Nice.
Which, like, if you get some really artistic ones made, well, we incorporated them into the centerpieces and had a tarot card reader. Like when you walked in, you could see like this little booth area where you could go and get your tarot read. So
Nice.
yeah, it was really cool.
It's a fun, interactive New Orleans style event. So.
Absolutely.
Well, this has been really fun.
Yeah, I
totally.
think that we've kind of touched on everything. Anything else you guys want to add?
Yeah, I mean, there's another. I guess the cake pulls is another
Oh,
thing
yeah.
that we do in the South.
Cake
that
pulls.
Yeah,
we don't
cake
do
rolls.
anywhere
Yeah.
else.
Obviously, that's like one that nobody else really has.
No, I haven't seen it outside of Louisiana.
Yeah, it was a Victorian tradition, I think, originally, and we just, we picked it up and we're like, yeah, it's
I always
ours.
yell out, whoever gets the baby has to pay for the next wedding.
That's great. That's great. It's only
Yeah, and there's the traditional ones, but then a lot of jewelers in town, like I know Mignon Paget, who does like all their custom ones, and they'll give you the little card with it that explains what each pull means and everything
Or you
like
can
that.
totally make up your own meanings, we had one, my uncle was a wedding photographer, and he would tell anybody who got the fleur-de-lis that meant they were going to meet a tall, handsome Saints player.
Yeah.
I
would love it.
Yeah, you can totally take that one.
Your mop broom dance, though, reminded me, too, of a tradition that everyone should adopt, which is the money dance.
Oh, yeah.
So that's definitely a, sort of
It
Louisiana
hasn't been done as
thing.
much lately.
Yeah.
I've noticed. I would love to see that come back. It's just kind of fun. Just for anybody that doesn't know what it is, tell us a little
Exactly. So typically the bride, but sometimes the groom as well, guests will sort of pay for dances with them. And so you'll pin or tuck a few dollars or lots of dollars for the dance. And so it's usually just family and friends for a few minutes or so. And then they save that money up for a nest egg or for their honeymoon or whatnot. So
Just a little extra fun money.
little extra fun money, and
Yeah.
everyone gets to dance with the bride and groom. So
It's a great way to get to mingle with your guests.
it's a wonderful way.
It's the New Orleans alternative to a receiving line, I really think.
Yeah, that's definitely.
I think maybe some of the loss in the tradition is that some kids maybe feel like it's tacky or weird, but I think it's totally
So great.
It's an actual tradition,
Yeah.
And it is. It's something that
Yeah,
really was a major part of so many weddings.
And all them old folks are going to come up to you at your wedding and jam a bunch of money.
Exactly. Who doesn't want that?
Everyone's gonna dance out of it, right?
Don't feel around, just go ahead.
Yeah. Take it. Take the vibe.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you guys so much for being
welcome.
here.
Thanks for having
It was
us.
a pleasure.
Thank
And
Cheers.
Thank you.
One more
Listening.
cheers
Yes.
before you go.
Cheers.
I ate my straw.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us for episode 6 of Cocktails with the Crew. We'll hope to see you back next week for episode 7.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cocktails with the Crew is a New Orleans Weddings Magazine production, filmed on location at Republic Nola in New Orleans Warehouse District, featuring host Jessica Talazac, Director of Special Events for Republic Nola, and Jessica Burke, publisher of New Orleans Weddings Magazine. Audio recording by Ellen Kramer. Video by Brian Jarreau. Theme music, Blues Genius by Steve Cox. Copyright 2019, New Orleans Weddings Magazine.